Hello, this is my presentation on Children of Blood, an analysis of Bloodborne and Bloodchild, the two stories, by me, Jack Stouffer. Now, there will be 6 sections in this presentation. The first one will be the introduction. The second one will be Blood, Eggs, and the Healing Church. The third one will be Eldritch Horror and the Amygdala. The fourth one will be the role of women in both stories. The fifth one will be Pregnancy in Bloodborne plus Yarnum, the Pluthermian Queen. And then finally the conclusion. This is the introduction. Bloodborne is set in a Victorian-era city called Yarnum. Everywhere in the city is a beast rampage, which means that there's beasts everywhere who are blood hungry and will kill anyone that gets in their way. And then, as we see down here in the picture, this is what you play as a hunter who hunts the beasts for the safety of the people. Next, in Bloodchild, the setting is a human preserve on the Talik homeworld planet, which we don't know the name of, but there coexist the Taliks and the Terrans, which are also just humans. In both stories, there are incentives for the humans to play along, which are usually addictive substances. And in the first story, Bloodchild, the Tagatoi eggs are the addictive substance, and they increase the lifespan of humans by around double. And then they're described as having a liquid inside and then a presumably chewy outside. We're never told explicitly. And then in Bloodborne, the Healing Church is a church that spreads blood for hunters to heal themselves with. It is a special type of blood that has a healing property, and it is it's the game's main form of instant healing, which are consumed in the form of vials of blood, which you stick into your leg with a syringe. Yosefka is a doctor at the clinic that you wake up in at the start of the game. And then Ariana is a sex worker, and they both offer you vials of blood, and they both heal more than normal amounts. And then most citizens are addicted to blood, which is why if they have too much blood that they ingest, they turn into beasts. And then this is an example of the healing blood vial. And then once a patient has had their blood administered, a unique but common treatment in Yarnum, successive infusions recall the first and are all the more invigorating for it. No surprise that most Yarnumites are heavy users of blood. This just means that the blood is really addictive, and then the more you use it, the more it is hard to stop. In Bloodborne and in Bloodchild, both our instances are of Eldritch Horror. And then in Bloodborne, one of the game's systems is insight. Insight is the knowledge you gain from seeing extraterrestrial events, such as the Great Ones or the Amygdala. The Great Ones are the reason why the blood is so addictive, because the blood that the church gives out is directly from one of the Great Ones. The Amygdala are here in this bottom right diagram. That's the design for the amygdala in the game. And they're one of the first creatures you see in the game, but they're kind of like the underling of the of the uh shit. They're kind of like the underlings of the great ones and don't have as much power. The amygdala is also in the dictionary as one of the two parts of the brain that affect how people feel emotions, especially fear and pleasure, which correlates to both stories by the extraterrestrial events. And then finally, we have the Terrans and the Talik. Um, this was the most common interpretation of Gan and then Tagatoi, which are the Talik are very extraterrestrial, alien-looking beings down here, which the closest thing being to humanity is insects. Next, the role of women in Bloodborne and Bloodchild. In Bloodborne, women are usually the ones giving birth, and it is not stated nor implied whether or not men are also able to. Then next, in Bloodchild, males are the ones usually giving birth. However, both genders are stated that they can. Then next is the quote from Bloodchild, which says, they say women have more body fat to protect the grubs, but they usually take men to leave the women behind free to bear their own young. In Bloodborne, a Bergenworth scholar noted Bergenworth is the college where they study the Great Ones. Um, and when the Great Ones descend, a womb shall be blessed with child. This has symbolism with Christianity as well. Another interesting thing is that since women are the ones bearing human young, the the young that they raise, the Talik want to be men so that they can have more Talik babies. On a separate note, uh, great ones draw similarities and are conflated with God, such as with this quote, "And when the great ones descend, a womb will be blessed with child," by an unknown Bergenworth scholar. The great ones are conflated with God because a baby that would be born in the game is shown as Jesus Christ. Both stories use pregnancy as a source of horror. Here are some of the details of the pregnancy. In Bloodborne, Ariana, the sex worker, has a baby. For the first part of the game, she does not look pregnant at all, and there's nothing to associate with her that makes it seem like she's pregnant. It is unannounced, and right at the end of the game, she has a baby next to her, which was, at the start of this presentation, this baby at the bottom left picture. Can't really see it from here, but that is a baby great one. And that draws similarities to this quote from Bloodchild on page 18. She was paler and smaller than Tagatoi, probably born from the body of an animal. This quote was talking about a separate Talik which came from afar in a car. Keeping going with the quote, Talik from Terran bodies were always larger as well as more numerous. In Bloodborne, I suspect it is the same thing, where since the Great One had uh is being born from Ariana, the human sex worker, she is not going to be the same size as the father figure, Great One. In Bloodborne, the mother only has one baby, similar to human childbirth. And then in Bloodborne, if you kill the baby in order to obtain its umbilical cord for the secret ending to the game, Ariana will die too, which means that they are internally connected, even if not physically anymore. In Bloodchild, the pregnancy is noticeable, but only for a few months, and it only lasts those few months. The Talik and the family members in Bloodchild have planned this out since the humans are born, and in Bloodchild, the Talik implant multiple babies into one human, which is similar to how insects impregnate other animals or other insects. Babies are completely separate from the host post-birth. So in this case, if you were to kill the babies, the host human wouldn't die too. And then this is my works cited. I used an article from from Elisa Dahal talking about Octavia Butler's Bloodchild, then an analysis on Nightmare on Elm Street and Bloodborne together, then a thesis for someone's dissertation called Grant Us Eyes. Then I used a video essay by Honeybat in 2022 called Visceral Femininity.